So today we will start with Unit 2, which is called Accessible Documents. And today in this short video, at least I hope it will be short, I will talk to you about the two ways in which a screen reader can read a document, which is passive and active reading. Passive reading refers to the fact that a screen reader will start reading a document in a linear or sequential way from the beginning to the end. And it's called passive because the user at that point will only listen to what the screen reader is saying, but he is not going to interact with the contents of the document. And while sometimes this kind of reading is convenient, most of the times we are going to need, as readers, we're going to need to control what we read. And we call this active reading. Take it, for example, it works with printed documents and with digital documents. When you're reading something, usually you flip through pages, you go to specific sections, you go back and have a look at maybe something that you highlighted, you bookmark some things, like you have a lot of actions that you usually do while you're reading. So screen readers allow blind users to do this kind of navigation through documents also, but you need to prepare the document. The creator of the contents need to prepare the document so that the screen reader can allow users to do this kind of navigation. And the principle to do this kind of navigation is to treat contents for what they are and not for what they look like. In this example, I'm showing you two documents. The background, you will notice that it looks the same, it's the same document, the same contents. But in the front, we have two small windows. This window is provided by some screen readers in order to allow users to navigate. So in the first document, which is not accessible, you will open the screen reader's window to allow for active navigation. However, there is nothing to navigate through. This document does not have a structure, and therefore the screen reader cannot detect it, and that causes the user not to be able to navigate through the structure. While in the second one, we have the same contents, but this document actually has a specific structure, which is possible through the use of styles, basically, and some other things that the text editors already provide automatically. So in this one, a user can jump from the main title to the third section, for example, without flipping through any pages or without having to go from page to page until they get to that section. It can efficiently go from wherever he is or she is to the section that they want to access at the time. So like I mentioned, it is necessary to prepare these documents. Let me show you, apart from this, I prepared two documents that use a fragment of a book that is called Of All Things. This is the example. Now, I am not using a screen reader at this moment. I will show you in the end, but I will do the accessibility checking of these two documents. When I am in the Microsoft Word, I can do it if I go to File. Here there is an option to see if the document has any problems, and there is the option check accessibility or comprobar accesibilidad. So if I do that for this document, some errors will appear, and it says that the errors indicate content that people with disabilities are unable to read. In this case, there are 3 images in the text that don't have alternative text, and therefore the screen reader will not be able to see or to read what the images are about. Also, it says that the document doesn't have a structure. Okay, I will go to the accessible document and we will see the difference. I will do the same. I check accessibility, and we see that in this case we have warnings. Warnings are not the same as errors. Warnings indicate content that people with disabilities find difficult to read. And actually, here it says that I have títulos poco frecuentes. This is because it's an actual book, so the contents are very long by section per section, and that's why it says that titles are not very frequent. But what I would like you to observe here is that a warning is different to an error. The error will leave the screen reader disabled to read some parts of the document. A warning will only make it difficult. So I already explained to you why I had these warnings. If the document had headings more frequently, then we wouldn't have this warning. So this is a way of comparing these two documents. And if I go to the screen reader, we can also observe some differences. I will show you the window that allows navigation in the different sections.
JAWS Professional.
I'm using JAWS. So in the first one, I will read it until the image, and we will listen what it says. This is passive. I'm not doing anything.
The social life of the newt. It is not generally known that the newt, although one of the smallest of our North American animals, has an extremely happy home life. It is just one of those facts which never get brooded about. Graphic, unlabeled 8.8 centimeters wide by 2.86 centimeters.
Observe that there, when it read the graphic, it just said graphic unlabeled, okay? Because it doesn't have an alternative text. We will see the difference. Now we will read the second document passively.
Level 1 of all things. Robert C. Benchley. Heading Level 2, the social life of the newt. It is not generally known that the newt, although one of the smallest of our North American animals, has an extremely happy home life. It is just one of those facts which never get brooded about. Graphic. Since that time, I have practically lived among the newts.
Okay, I will leave it there. As you notice, when it reads the graphic, it says graphic, and then it reads the alternative text, which was provided for this image. Actually, in this image, the person who did this alternative text just considered that the important thing about the image is to show what the text says in the image. Since that time, I have practically lived among the newts. Of course, the alternative text is going to vary according to the type of graphic that you're showing. For example, if you're showing a chart, let's say a pie with several slices showing different percentages of something, the most important thing is to give the actual information about the pie. Maybe you can say that it's a pie chart, but the most important thing is going to be giving the different percentages assigned to every slice of the pie. So the alternative text will depend on the kind of image that you're showing. Now let's see what happens when I try to show the window for each of these documents. I will activate the option to navigate through the structure of the headings.
There are no headings in this document.
And it tells me that there are no headings in this document, just as I expected. Depending on the screen reader, it can either show you a window with an empty structure, or like in this case, it just tells you that there are no headings. That's why it doesn't show you anything. Now let's see, in the accessible document, I will do the same. I will activate the option, the window. And in this case, it's showing me the structure of the second document. It says that there is one heading, number 1, and 2 headings of level 2. And from here, I can use the keyboard to move through the different sections and move directly to the heading. I will go to the second one. 1, 2.
MEG and Bill. Please quote :2. 3 of 3. Heading level 2 quote copy.
Okay.
MEG and Bill.
And it starts to read the new content where I jump to. In the same way that you can do this in Microsoft Word, you can do it in Google in the Google Documents. Let me turn this off because it's going to talk a lot. In the slides, I already told you, in case you didn't know, I already told you how to add structure to the document and how to add the alternative text. But I wanted to show you here, I have the same document, it's accessible. I wanted to show you how you can do the accessibility check in Google Docs. You need to add on this option. It's called Accessibility Checker. And when you check the document, it's going to show you something like this. And you're going to be able to see what is actually checking. In this case, this is an accessible document, but in the case where the document were not accessible, you would have a sad face here showing that there is some problem with your document. So this one is okay. This is just for checking, but in order to read the different parts of this document, you need to activate the accessibility features for the page, because as opposed to the Word document, here you're visualizing the document on a browser. So the functionality of the browser is going to be, the functionality of the of the text document that is shown in the browser will be different because it depends on the browser. So if you activate in Tools, if you activate the accessibility settings, you will get this menu, this extra menu. And this is the menu that will allow people using a screen reader to read the different parts of the document. Of course, provided that it has a structure, that it has alternative text, and that it has description for tables also. So for example, here I can go to a different heading, I can move to the next heading, and I will jump to the second heading. And if I'm using a screen reader, it will do the same thing. So this is, in short, this is what accessibility in documents, in text documents, is about.